Turning to a wrap of your top stories of the day.
A good Wednesday morning. Today is the deadline. If you plan to fly domestically in America, you need that real ID. But if you don't have that real ID, there are other ways you can get through TSA. If you have a passport or a state-issued military ID or something of that nature. If you don't have it, don't fret. The TSA says they'll work with folks making sure that you're who you say you are, but that could cause delays. We've checked with DMV. They say there are long lines getting through, so it's best to have a little patience. Just like when you come to the airport, have a little patience. They're working to try to get people accommodated to get those real IDs as fast as they can.
Well, also happening today, CMS leaders are making their case to county commissioners, asking for millions to fund teacher pay, school safety, and academic support. The Mecklenburg County Board of Commissioners will review the request at 2:30 today, but the CMS budget won't be finalized until both the county and state budgets are approved.
All right, let's take a final look at our traffic. If you're getting ready to head out the door, maybe you're off to work or waking those kids up and getting them off to school, you can see this is the one biggest accident that we're keeping an eye on now, just an incident in Cherry, but we are still seeing some slowdowns. And of course, don't forget there will be a lot of school buses near Truist Field because of that Education Day.
Well, clouds are going to increase throughout the day, so our dog of the day, Chewy Lou, is saying, hey, you can still enjoy it even though we don't have that much sunshine. High temperatures in the low to the mid-70s.
It's a good-looking dog. A reminder that our news does not end here. Join us over on WCNC Plus.
Live now at 7 a.m. here on WCNC Plus. I'm Caitlin Hagwood in for Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. It is an exciting morning for us as we welcome Majestic Storm to our team. Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. It feels like home. It's been the first day on air. Yesterday we did a little bit of an introduction, but today is the first day doing morning traffic so far, and so far it's been pretty good, but we'll be doing weather a little later. Fingers
roads
crossed,
have been
Chris.
calm.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. I'm going to do this for the rest of the morning because 7 o'clock is always
Fingers
It's a
crossed.
little hectic, but that's okay. It takes more than that to scare me away.
All right. Thanks, Majestic.
Well, it's good to be here with you ladies, and I'm really excited that I have this forecast for you. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous day across the skies. We have temperatures right now around 57 degrees. Already hit our low this morning around 55, 56 in Mecklenburg County. Back up to 52 we are here in Hickory, and then 49 in Morganton. It is a warmer morning than what we had yesterday, and it will be an even warmer morning by tomorrow. As for our high temperatures, not so much. One thing that taketh away the degrees from our highs is going to be cloud covered, and you can already see signs that cloud cover is increasing. This is the sunniest part of the day. I'm not saying that it will be completely gloom and doom later on this afternoon, just more gloom, less doom, and not as much sunshine. High temperatures mainly leveling out in the lower to the mid 70s, but really most of our temperatures are parking around 71 to 73 for the afternoon hours. So what's going on? What is the setup? We have this light rain that's moving in. However, we have relatively dry air in place, but once this moves overhead, it's either one of two scenarios. It looks like it's going to rain, or you have a very light rain shower to a sprinkle, and I think that's mainly down in South Carolina. Conditions are a little bit more favorable down there. And then we have a bunch of fronts that are just twisting and bending across the area, but they don't move much. This is a quasi-stationary front. It dances around, but it starts to lift its way off towards the north, bringing us our next storm chance. That's really during your Thursday evening. A little bit more so in the morning is going to be another possibility, and then eventually that's going to retreat back down towards the south. And this is back and forth, back and forth. So as of right now, Saturday trending to be a little bit sunnier than what we have for our Mother's Day, but it's going to be an active pattern. And I'm really looking ahead to Monday and Tuesday. By the way, this is the most organized rain chance graphic I think I've had. This is great. So if this is your type A personality, this is wonderful. Scattered, isolated, likely, didn't plan this, but it really shows the sections and the different changes of our weather patterns. So today, very isolated. You can see a little bit of that green. Notice how it disappears. There will be a few breaks in the clouds, allowing for a bright spot here and there, but again, clouds winning out, really 80% cloud cover across the day to 100%. By tomorrow morning, check it out. Widespread rain, showers and thunderstorms greet us right around the evening or morning commute or right after it's over, and then heading the afternoon, I think we'll take a break for some sunshine, but then we have a developing slow-moving system. This could be a strong shower or storm. At this point for the early evening, I think it's really northwest of Charlotte that we have the best hail potential, and then it slides down to the southeast, but it's going to start to weaken as it works its way closer to midnight. So right now we have our storm window really between about 6 and midnight, but it's still pretty mean line. This is, I think, maybe a little overly aggressive, but if this does come to scenario, this is actually very similar to what we had on last Saturday night into Sunday, so you could have some gusty winds, maybe even a quick spin-up tornado along that line, even though it's very unlikely at this point. So right now we are looking at a weather-aware window really for the late day, hail and wind threats. And again, it's moving from northwest to southeast. As for our severe weather threats, it really breaks down to large hail, damaging winds, but nothing for tornadoes at this point. Our weekend forecast, as I mentioned, there's a slight chance for a spotty shower, but I think all in all, it's just going to be more clouds than sunshine. And then we're really waiting on the rain on Monday, because check it out. I think on Sunday, there is a chance for a little bit of sunshine. I think you have more dry hours than wet ones for mom. But once you get to about Monday late morning to the afternoon, I'm talking about once it starts raining, it might not stop. Now, this is always over aggressive, and then it's oftentimes dry slots. There will be some breaks in the rain. But this shows that we're going to have a likely to a widespread rain chance starting on Monday late day, heading through your Tuesday afternoon. So that's going to translate to rain totals anywhere from about 1 to 3 inches across the area. So I think this is the developing big weather story over the next 7 days. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast shows a brief return to the lower 80s Thursday and Friday. The bottom is going to be this Saturday and Sunday, but that's the lowest rain chance. Highest rain chance either side of 70 Monday and Tuesday. All right, Majestic, your first traffic report on WCNC Plus. Let's do this.
All right, well, might as well start with clear conditions. It is nice outside. You can see a live look overlooking the beautiful uptown there. The sky is quiet. The roads are dry, but the traffic is sure surely starting to pick up now just after 7 a.m. this morning. Now, there are multiple things that I want to let you know about, whether you're waking up and heading off to work or you're getting those kids off to school this morning. Want to start with this, a live look at I-77. Our South Carolina viewers, good morning to you. Starting to see a lot of congestion there. We're going to be talking about that, but our live traffic maps, for the most part, not seeing anything too concerning, but the most concerning thing right now is this crash. It's on Tryon Street at Trade Street. Now, this crash has had some reports of some injuries. Southbound lanes are impacted, so if you typically drive that direction, you might want to take a different route. Another one that we're keeping a close eye on is right here, Brooklyn Village Ave, an incident in Cherry. Coming up in just a few minutes, I'm going to be back here detailing out why there will be so many school buses in the uptown area and how that may impact your morning commute.
All right, Majestic, thanks so much. 7:06 now. The Real ID deadline has arrived. By the way, this is Chris Mulcahy's. This is not my Real ID. Starting today, you will need that new ID to fly domestically or to enter any federal buildings. But there is some good news this morning if you don't have one yet.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane joining us live this morning. He's been out at Charlotte Douglas all day. And Richard, people will still be able to fly, but it's going to take a little bit longer to get through security.
That's absolutely correct. Kaylin, good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Now, let me tell you something. First of all, we spoke to airport representatives a little while ago here at Charlotte Douglas. They say things are boring. The Real ID rollout or the final deadline, because the deadline has been moved back for COVID and other issues. They've moved it back and back, but finally the Real ID deadline is here. But they say that today is one of those days when people don't travel a lot. Wednesdays, Tuesdays, not big travel days. And that's the same thing as Charlotte Douglas here. We can tell you that right now, you see they have representatives out making sure that folks know this. There's a lady there actually talking to folks about if they have their Real ID, what they need to do. If they don't have their Real ID, what they need to do in order to get through security. Now, TSA says that this is the deadline to have your Real ID today. You're going to have some issues. But basically, you'll still be able to get through. They'll just ask you some more questions to make sure that you are who you say you are. They say that if you have a passport or something like that, a state issued, government ID, something that like a military ID card, you're going to have no problems getting through. You can use those. Now, if you don't have a Real ID, we can tell you that trying to get one, those lines are super long at the DMV office. That's because there's been a lot of people trying to get their Real IDs. We actually spoke to some folks about trying to get their Real IDs. We also spoke to someone at the DMV who says they know that there's a problem with those long lines. Take a listen to what these folks had to say.
This is the fourth attempt. And this is the first time that I've actually able to see somebody in all this waiting just for them to tell me that I didn't have a document that was needed. They need to have a better process in doing this.
We have a couple of requests before the legislature to add new employees to those ranks, and we're hopeful that they'll fund those requests for additional employees this year.
Yeah, that is a hope. They also say that they're going to try to extend hours to make this process go a little bit faster. Of course, now just if you don't fly, if you're not planning to fly right away, you don't need your Real ID. And if you are planning to fly and you don't have your Real ID, you're going to need to give yourself even a little bit more time, because there's going to be a process that you'll probably have to go through when you get to the airport to get through TSA. Guys.
And boring is a good thing. When the airport officials say it's boring, that's a good thing. And as you said, Richard, if people have to fly, they don't have the Real ID today, don't panic. You can still get through security. Just give yourself much more time.
That's absolutely correct. And, some folks ask, can you do it online or something like that? There are documents that you need, so you need to go into the office. Like, I know Lisa has set up her appointment already. You've had your appointment already, so you're ready to go, right?
So, well, actually, Richard, my appointment is next Wednesday. So not today, but next Wednesday. So I'll be a week later, and hopefully I will have all the documents.
She can't fly. She can't fly. She can't fly.
I have a passport, though.
Hopefully. We'll tell you what they are. Well, then you're fine. You're fine. Then that's a good thing you said. You have a passport. If you have a passport, you'll have no problem getting through TSA. You just show your passport, and so you can do that now instead of your driver's license, and that'll get you right on through. So you can take your time, relax if you have a passport, and you won't have to worry about your Real ID. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Richard.
There you go.
Well, taking a live look now over Vatican City this morning, where in just hours, cardinals will gather in the Sistine Chapel to begin choosing the next pope. And later today, more than 130 cardinals are going to gather behind closed doors for that highly secretive conclave.
This process could take days, weeks, or even months. NBC's Jay Gray is at the Vatican this morning with a closer look at what comes next.
As the conclave begins, there's a sense this could mark an historic turning point for the Catholic faith.
Pope Francis really set Catholicism on a new course. Are we going to maintain that course, or are we going to retrench somehow?
If there is any division behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel, it will likely center on whether the Church continues and even expands progressive reforms initiated by Francis, or, as some conservative cardinals have suggested, returns to the more rigid roles, traditions, and doctrines that defined Catholicism for centuries.
Are we going to have a pope who gets up and says, Francis was a disaster, we need to go back to the old church? I don't think that's going to happen.
Vatican watchers say the new pope must be someone who, like Francis, can bridge the gap between factions within the church.
What Pope Francis did in emphasizing mercy, in terms of emphasizing meeting people where they are, listening to what is needed among the people of God, that defies labels of traditional versus progressive.
Those who will vote say any labels or leanings will not play a role in their decision.
We support whoever is the best person. We don't know. So, but we don't choose a pope based on continent, based on race, based on language. We choose a pope that is truly can be the successor of St. Peter. Yeah, the one who can look after the whole world.
As the whole world now waits to see who they choose. Jay Gray.
Well, Jay Gray joins us live now from Vatican City. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning. How are you ladies?
We are doing so well. I'm wondering, do you have any insight for how long the conclave could last?
It's interesting. I mean, highly secretive, obviously all taking place behind those huge wooden doors locked on the Sistine Chapel. If you look at modern history, the longest has been 5 days and most average a day and a half, 2 days. We've talked with some of the cardinals earlier in the week before this conclave began, and they've been saying 2 to 3 days. So it'll be interesting to see if there are any sticking points, if this takes a bit longer, or if they already have an idea of the direction they want this church to go and the man they want to lead it. We won't know until we see the white smoke. But again, most believe this is going to be a short conclave.
And Jay, you mentioned, of course, that this is a highly secretive process. I mean, anyone knows what happens behind those closed doors. Can you walk us through that? And also, a number of people are going to be waiting. Could be a vote as early as today.
Yeah, they'll have one vote this afternoon after they take their oath. And during that process inside the Sistine Chapel, there is silence. No one speaks. There's no going back and forth. The only sound that is heard is the counting of the votes. So the time to discuss, the time to get to know one another, that's ended for the most part. Now, when they get into a regular routine, one vote today, there's never been an election on the first vote. So you get into the full day tomorrow, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and in those break times, they can again try and steer the conversation to where they think this is going to end up. In the evenings, I'm told there is no curfew. They can talk and visit as long as they would like before the next day's vote.
Now, you mentioned this could be a turning point for the church. What makes this conclave different from past elections?
Well, I think what makes it different is the Pope that was in office before all of this. Pope Francis, loved by so many, and really changed some of the norms within the Catholic Church. Brought in those who had been disenfranchised at times, that didn't have a place they felt in the church. Also opened up some of the church leadership to women, which is something we haven't seen in the Catholic Church. So the rub comes with whether they're going to continue along that path, or some of the conservative cardinals have mentioned, if they're going to revert back to some of the traditions and some of the norms of the Catholic Church that it's carried for centuries and centuries. So if there's a tug of war inside this conclave, I think it'll be over that.
And what also makes this interesting is that this is the largest group ever of cardinals, and most of them have never participated in this process before. So how could that influence the outcome?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And many of them don't know each other. They've had some time pre-conclave to kind of get to know each other. But a vast majority, 108 of these cardinals, have never been a part of the process. So they're kind of learning on the job, if you will. And they'll get a real taste of it this afternoon when they take their oath and then cast that first ballot.
All right, NBC's Jay Gray. Jay, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, guys.
Well, stay with us here on WCNC Plus. Coming up at 7:30, we're going to speak live with Bishop Michael Martin, and that's happening live in our next half hour. You don't want to miss it here on WCNC Plus. Now, we are getting new reaction this morning after a federal judge stepped in to rule on North Carolina's Supreme Court race. U.S. District Judge Richard Myers is a Trump appointee, but this week he ruled that incumbent Democrat Allison Riggs must be declared the winner and that Jefferson Griffin's challenge of 65,000 votes is actually unconstitutional. Well, we spoke with some campaign experts who say they haven't seen anything quite like this challenge before.
So the Republicans can't say this is a hardcore leftist judge. This also can cause a lack of trust in the voting system if voters are seeing that their votes are not being respected.
Well, they also say that targeting Democratic counties weakened Griffin's argument, but he still has several days to appeal the decision, which could extend that battle. New this morning, a bill to ban kids under 14 from using social media moving forward in North Carolina. House lawmakers just passed it, and now it heads to the Senate. And the bill would actually force platforms to delete accounts for anyone under 14, require parental consent for ages 14 and 15, and supporters say, well, this was going to protect kids from harmful content and predators, but some parents say it goes just too far, saying those decisions should be left to the families and not lawmakers.
Well, good day, everybody. What's going on? We're looking at some upper level clouds across the area, and those clouds will take over eventually. Today will become an overcast day, but hey, not too bad. This is a delightful start, in my opinion. I love when there's a numerous amount of cloud types off in the distance. High temperatures, we're mainly hanging out in the lower 70s, but I do think that we're just going to touch these numbers around 74, 75 for the greater Charlotte area. Winds a little bit lighter, occasional gusts up to about 15 miles per hour. The Checkers trying to sweep the series. Let's go Checkers. Puck drop at 7 o'clock after the game. Temperatures in the lower 60s. Temps don't really move too much through the overnight. This is pretty typical whenever you have a cloud cover deck like this. Doesn't really allow the heat to escape back into the atmosphere, so it kind of locks and loads it at the surface. We've been relatively clear of the last few mornings. That's why it was so chilly on Monday and Tuesday morning, dropping down to 52, 51 degrees. Tomorrow morning, dropping down to the upper 50s. So we started off in the low 50s. This morning was the mid 50s, and now we had the upper 50s and then even closer to 60 degrees. Right now, not much happening here in the Charlotte area, but if we look off towards the west, here comes our next rain chance. However, it's going to struggle to hit some of the drier air, so mainly we're going to have the clouds from this. I think it's going to look like it's going to rain on and off throughout the day, but the best chance for rain really looks to be down towards the south. This system is actively weakening, but it's a little bit more favorable in South Carolina, and that's where I think we most likely see a lighter rain shower. Our dew points also on the rise, so today feels okay, still in that very nice to decent range, but once we start adding this orange color here, and that's mainly tomorrow afternoon, it starts feeling a little bit sticky. So we're going to keep that stickiness around for your Thursday night, heading into Friday even injecting some of these reds, and that's where we have that humid, uncomfortable air for these values start to come down. So our most sticky part of the week looks to be Thursday and Friday, and this could ramp back up in the middle of next week. Take advantage of the days that are in that blue like today, because these become rarer and rarer as we continue through May, and then you rarely see them again until the fall. Our next 36 hours, well, it depends where you are, but as I mentioned, the further south is expecting a better chance for rain today, but then tomorrow morning we're going to see a branch of rain that affects the south, and then it's the north's turn for a better chance for showers and storms during the evening time. I'm going to stop this right around 10 o'clock. I think that it's at that point that we're going to have a better chance for a developing shower or storm. A few severe thunderstorm warnings are not out of the question, and the reason why you see the cutoff of that yellow, I was mentioning yesterday, hey, most likely they're going to put us into a low chance for severe. The reason why you have that cutoff is because once it gets a little bit closer to midnight, it's a little more stable. So between about 4 and 7, as you can see here along the I-40 corridor from Lincolnton up to Hickory to Statesville. Lincolnton, you're not technically I-40 corridor, but just south. That's where you have the best chance for storms there, but this eventually is going to slide its way further off towards the south, which could create a wet morning on Friday. But I want to move ahead, way ahead, to the end of your Mother's Day weekend. I don't think we're going to see widespread rain for Mother's Day per se, but through your Monday, we start to see the next system that will. And this low pressure system is literally going to take over the area. And at this point, we could see 2 inches of rain alone on Monday, Monday night, and Tuesday. I'm not necessarily totally concerned about a widespread flooding event, but these start to compile themselves. This is great for the drought stats because it will be a kind of a slow soaking rain, but Tuesday does have a chance for some thunderstorms and some heavier rain rates, and then we'll start to dry out after that. But this really is us embarking into more of a wet pattern going forward. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, it's all over the place. We have a cloudy day today, lower 80s, a little more humid on your Thursday and Friday with better chance for thunderstorms. Then we have a cooler forecast on the cloudier, damp side for your Saturday and Sunday. Still think there's more dry hours than wet hours for both days with some areas of sunshine. And then Monday and Tuesday, cloudy, wet, widespread rain, almost rain boot and rain jacket type weather. By the middle of next week, we're back into the 80s. So a lot of up and downs for our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Hopefully it's all up for our morning commute, but we'll check with Majestic just in case.
All right, well, let's start with this. A live look outside. I want to show you I-77 as traffic is surely starting to pick up. You can definitely see it right there inbound towards the Charlotte metro area. Pretty typical for this time of the day, just after 7:30 this morning. But like Chris said, it is gorgeous outside. Grab those sunglasses this morning. You probably won't need them, though, as we head towards the later half of the day. Want to talk about our most current accident that has been reported. It's on Tryon Street at Trade Street, and this is actually a live look of it. You can see emergency responders are there. There has been some injuries reported, so if you typically drive in this area in Uptown, make sure you just take an alternate route or allow for a little extra drive time to get to where you need to be on this Wednesday morning. Another accident has been reported. This crash at Housley Street and Roswell's Ferry Road. We're seeing that inbound towards Charlotte as well. And then as we're looking at this one, an incident on Brooklyn Village Ave in Cherry. This has been ongoing now for over an hour. Those are accidents that you need to know about this morning. But in addition to that, you may notice that there's a lot of school buses around the Uptown area today, starting now because it is Education Day at Truistfield. Over 50 additional school buses will be there today. It's going to be a fun day for all those students, but make sure you're just taking it nice and easy. Have a mindful eye out for them as they're going to be crossing the streets. The game starts at about 11 o'clock this morning, so congestion this morning and, of course, after it as well.
It's time for today's Tiny Town. It's a tiny town south of Morganton, northwestern part of Cleveland County. A little community right there. Has an interesting name, and the name is Kaiser, North Carolina, in Cleveland County. It was named Caesar back in 1903, but the name was misspelled by the post office, so it became not Caesar, but Kaiser. So the name originally Caesar changed to Kaiser, and that's the way it's been since the year 1903. By the way, the population right around 305. It's about 1.75 square miles. Kaiser, North Carolina, that's our tiny town today.
Well, we are celebrating a new face joining the WCNC Charlotte morning team, meteorologist and traffic anchor Majestic Storm. And as we all know, Majestic has a quite memorable name.
Well, it kind of reminded us of another memorable name here at the station, Larry Sprinkle, and these two had a pretty interesting meetup.
Have you met Larry yet?
I don't think so.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, Larry Sprinkle.
Yeah.
Meet our new meteorologist, Majestic Storm.
Majestic Storm?
Larry Sprinkle?
That's not your real name. Come on.
It's my real name. Is it your real name?
It's my real name.
People ask us all the time.
All the time.
Is it your stage
Majestic
name
Storm,
or your real name?
Hey, stand right here.
Get over here, Chris.
That's right, Chris.
Yeah.
You are between a storm and a sprinkle. Yeah.
How do you feel?
I need to get a new name.
Oh!
Chris Cumulus, what do you think?
I've been shopping. The world almost exploded when that happened. And I was right in between
He's still trying to figure out the perfect name. Larry is so much fun. I loved meeting him. It felt like an instant friendship because when you have a weather name, you just get it because we get the questions all the time. Yes, it's my real name, Larry's real name as well, but it's fun getting to know him.
Oh yeah, Larry
Yeah.
is great.
A character.
Yeah, and there's more than you think. There's Danielle Breezy, there's Dallas Raines.
Oh, my
so,
goodness.
Yeah, they're
We
out
need like
there.
a little meetup, and maybe you could be the host.
Yeah, I could be. Yeah.
Okay.
Mattis Mulcahy.
There you go.
Chris Celsius. We're working on it.
All
you know
right.
what? Yeah, Mulcahy's got to go, though, especially with this crew.
All right, Chris. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another check on weather and traffic coming up in just 2 minutes. And then Kaylin and I will have the news headlines coming up at 7:30.
Well, hello there. A beautiful start to the day, right? Look at this. Loving that sunshine. Actually, you can see the clouds up and down, a little gravity wave going on there, almost a Kelvin Helmholtz cloud. I'm going to get distracted here. We have the lower 70s starting off the afternoon. Clouds take over, my friends. There will be at times you see a few periods of a brighter sky, but all in all, hanging out in the lower to the mid 70s through the afternoon. And then there's a slight chance for a little bit of rain, mainly down in South Carolina, but the best chance for rain really arrives by tomorrow morning, right around your morning commute in the middle of the morning, with another chance for showers and storms during the evening and overnight. Tomorrow and Friday also the warmest part of the day before we cool down for the weekend. Majestic, what do we need to know about traffic?
All right, traffic is definitely starting to pick up as you're heading out on this Wednesday morning, especially along I-77. This is your county heading into the downtown metro area. We do have numerous accidents now popping up. Want to talk about the one that's just the most recent one. It's the accident over there on Tryon Street. Emergency responders have been on scene, and we are keeping a close eye on that for you. And our other one here, a crash on Housley at Roswell's Ferry Road. So we're keeping an eye on that. Definitely seeing those slowdowns as we're looking towards the metro area. And today is Education Day. You'll see lots of buses there near the ballpark around 11 a.m. That's when the game starts.
thank you for joining us here live at 7:30 on WCNC Plus. I'm Kaylin Hagwood in for Ben.
And I'm Lisa Washington. Big decisions today could directly impact your child's classroom. CMS leaders are making their case to county commissioners, asking for millions to fund teacher pay, school safety, and academic support.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards live for us this morning with more on this. And Destiny, it's an important meeting tonight.
That's right. The district says a lot of their request to the county is for a lot of things that are a part of their district goals, and that is to protect classrooms, prioritize staff pay, support students, as well as keep up to date with the latest technology. Now, out of this $1.95 billion budget, CMS is asking county leaders to approve over $667 million in operating funds. This is a $28 million increase compared to last year. The budget includes a 3% raise for all employees, higher teacher supplements, and continued funding for professional development. $8.3 million would go toward fixing longstanding pay gaps for classified staff, and another $2 million would provide students with digital devices. District leaders call the budget strategic, saying lower impact programs have been cut to preserve what matters most, especially with federal COVID relief funding coming to an end. 2 weeks ago, during the school board's budget approval, some members said this request still doesn't go far enough on teacher pay, pointing to a need for stronger commitments from both the state and county.
The teachers that are in those classrooms are shaping our next generation, and most of them can't afford to live in this county, or they have a second job or something else. So I'm disappointed because I think we should ask for more.
The Mecklenburg County Board of Commissioners are reviewing this budget request today at 2:30 p.m., but the budget won't actually be final until the county and the state also approve their own budgets, which will allocate for district funding across the state and Mecklenburg County. And then after that, there will be an amended presentation of the district budget before a public hearing, and then it'll also be presented before the school board for a vote later on too. So a lot of steps before this budget is officially set in stone. I'll send it back to you guys live here from CMS headquarters.
And yet, Destiny, as they're having that discussion, I'm wondering, do you think that they have the support that they need to get this move through tonight?
I know in a past interview, Superintendent Dr. Crystal Hill says she has confidence that the county will back their request. And again, it's that $667 million that they're asking for, and a $28 million increase from last year. And a lot of that is focused on keeping critical resources and making sure staff are fairly paid. Those are their big goals with that extra $28 million. They say that it's about, increasing those teacher supplements by an average of 5%. It's also $2 million in order to get new digital devices. So again, with those COVID funding, not guaranteed this time around, they're really trying to maximize what they have and what the county is willing to give them to keep what they need, and especially meet their goals for both, again, teacher pay and also supporting students in the classroom.
Teacher pay has certainly been a big topic of discussion. All right, Destiny, thank you so much for that report. All right, Chris, find out more about our forecast for this Wednesday.
Let's check it out. All right, so just letting you know, hear me out. So I'm weather geeking over here. So we've been talking about different types of clouds as I try to explore my new name. Well, we're actually looking at a development of a very rare cloud, and it usually only lasts a couple of minutes. And it was very close, but see how it has these little humps? Literally what this is the atmosphere doing this. It's called a gravity wave, up and down, and it's trying to make what's called a Kelvin-Helmholtz wave cloud. This is one of the coolest clouds, one of my favorites, where literally it's little tops that only last for a brief moment. As you have that rising moist air condenses and it starts to fall off, it creates this little wave. So that's what I was watching over on a Louisville camera. So pretty cool, right? Maybe I only think this is cool, but you also see some upper level clouds along with some fading contrails showing the most beautiful part of the day. All right, we'll get the Kelvin-Helmholtz out of here and we'll talk about our highest today. Lower to the mid 70s. All in all, it will turn out to be an overcast to a mostly cloudy day. So this is the most beautiful beautiful, sunniest part of the day. Don't be disappointed if the skies do turn a little bit darker gray on us. And I think we're mainly hanging out in the lower 70s, but we will have, I think, enough breaks here and there during the afternoon that we will muster up enough strength to get into the mid 70s, but again, mainly hanging out in the lower 70s. Here's what's coming. The easiest and the first thing we do as meteorologists is to say what's happening upstream, as we call it, or where's the weather coming from? What's it doing? This system is starting to die out, but it is encountering some drier air, and that's going to be the big deal for our forecast. So I'm calling for most of us to see either a sprinkle or it looks like it's going to rain and nothing comes to fruition. But the further south you go, I think it's slightly more favorable. So if you're watching, I'm going to draw a line pretty much right from the bottom of Mecklenburg County to Union County, down to the south through York and Chester. You have the best chance for rain going forward. And our surface map moves, but not that much. You have back and forth, back and forth. Eventually, this front will slide down towards the south, and that's going to lock in what's called cold air damming. So there's a good chance that we're overall cloudier for this coming weekend. Best case scenario that we see a little bit of sunshine and we're all dry for Mother's Day and Mother's Day weekend. Let's talk about our next chance for rain and storms. So as mentioned, it's the slightest chance for light rain. I think that most is a 1/100th of an inch to a trace of rain this morning. But then here it is for your morning commute. Most of it is going to stay dry, but I think anywhere between about 7 and 10, we can have a branch of showers and storms. So it could be heavy at times, pushing its way further off towards the east. But this yellow shading that we were calling for yesterday, this is a low chance for severe storms. This is really for what's happening later on. As you can see to the west, it's this round of storms. So I think it's northwest of Charlotte that we're going to see the most robust weather. That's where you have a chance for scattered showers and storms to end the afternoon. But this line, I think, as it starts to gather strength, glob together, oftentimes if you have 1 or 2 storms that turn into a multi-cluster, as it's called, that's where it can enhance our severe potential. If it forms a line, sometimes it can be pretty mean all in all. So we do have some of that storm fuel that really starts to pop up through tomorrow, starting to thrive a little bit, but the time of day definitely helps us out. And for the long term, we're looking at a big change in the pattern by the end of your Mother's Day. I'll have that in your Guy Roofing forecast coming up. But first, we have to check the status of your morning commute with Majestic Storm. How you doing, my friend?
All right, well, it looks nice outside, but boy, those roads are really starting to pick up. We do have a big accident that I want to let you know about. It's really impacting our southbound lane. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. You can see all of that red indicating those slowdowns, and that's where we currently have our biggest concern now. So just north of Uptown, lane closed due to a crash on I-77 southbound lanes right before exit 12. So this is our #1 concern this morning, but that's not the only issue out there. We have a crash now on WT Harris Boulevard at Snow Lane. So you can see going from green now into oranges and reds, indicating just that slow and go traffic. Another one, a crash at Housley Street at Rozzles Ferry Road. Again, inbound lanes heading towards the metro area over towards Highway 16. And then finally, an incident on Brooklyn Village Ave in Cherry. I've been tracking this one for over the last hour. Not seeing a lot of major concerns across the area, but definitely something to note if you typically drive that way. Out west, we have a crash now on Walker's Cove, Catfish Drive. You can see I-485 here definitely starting to slow down. We'll have more updates on this, and also we're going to be talking about why there's so many school buses in the Uptown area this morning and how long that's going to last.
All right, Majestic, thank you. Happening right now, Cardinals are gathering in Vatican City, getting ready to start that highly secretive process to elect a new pope.
The Cardinals will cast their votes, and when they've made a decision, white smoke will appear from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. Joining us this morning to talk more about the conclave is Bishop Michael Martin, head of the Charlotte Diocese. Good morning to you, Bishop. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. So give us some insight into this process. We know it's highly secretive. What do you think the Cardinals are looking for in selecting a new pope?
I think all of them come to the process with a realization that they've spent the last couple of weeks speaking with each other and trying to better understand the realities of the church from all over the world, as well as to express the dynamics that are present in the church wherever they come from. So I believe that the mentality of most of the cardinal electors is one of listening and one of trying to understand understand, okay, if this is our reality, what's the Lord calling us to in this moment in the life of the church?
And we know this conclave will shape the future direction of the church. I'm curious, what are you hoping to see in the next pope?
You know, for me, I think my hopes are the same as most Catholics here in Charlotte. You know, which is basically I'm confident that we'll have a person who's a man of deep faith who is trying his best to follow the Lord every day, and has a vision which is aligned with Jesus and the tradition of our church over the last 2,000 years, which is bringing the good news of salvation to everyone. And I feel pretty confident that all of us will be blessed by whomever that person might be.
And we know that many people are going to be looking very closely at that chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel, waiting to see that white smoke. What do you think will be the responsibilities and the challenges once the new pope is elected?
Sure. I think any person who begins a new position has to, first of all, get over the shock of it. And that, I think, is pretty daunting for any new Holy Father, that they realize that something that they could have never imagined has happened in their lives. And so I think that first dynamic is to get over that shock, and then to realize that they're not in this alone, that not just the cardinals, but all of the clergy and the over 1.4 billion Catholics around the world are with them. First and foremost in prayer, they're there to support them and help them to realize that God's with them, and then to allow whatever emerges from that moment to continue to promote the Great Commission of Jesus Christ, which is bringing the good news to a world that needs it a lot.
Let's talk about how this impacts folks right here in North Carolina. How do you think that the events that are happening in Vatican City will connect back to folks in our area?
Sure. I think all of us, we have our particular desires. You know, I want to see this and I want to see that. And my hope is this. And I think we have to continue to appreciate God's involved in this, and it's something bigger than ourselves. And so as much as we try to make it local, and it should be, it needs to be imminent. We need to live our faith every day here in Charlotte or in Western North Carolina. So obviously I think it's going to impact the lives of people every day right here in our own region. At the same time, one of the beauties of the Catholic Church is its universality, is that we're connected to something greater in the world, and to realize that God's calling all of us beyond our local parish church or beyond our local city or county, but even beyond our state or our country, to something bigger. And so it's this constant sort of back and forth between what are my particular needs and what are the needs of the world, and how do I find myself in that?
Bishop, as the world is watching this moment unfold, what emotions come up for you?
Well, obviously, for me, I'm still mourning the death of Pope Francis. He changed my life. I've only been the Bishop of Charlotte for about a year, and that dramatically changed my life. So personally, I'm still sort of feeling that. At the same time, I would say I'm excited. I'm excited about whomever the Church brings forward to lead us, and I certainly commit and pledge to whomever it might be my prayers and my love and support. So for me, it's exciting. I'm kind of pumped up about it.
Well, thank you so much for taking a little time today.
Bishop Michael Martin from the Diocese of Charlotte. Again, thank you so much. Well, right now, a search is underway for the person who killed a Lancaster mother. Larisha Thompson was found shot in her car on Riverside Road late Friday night. Her family says she was on her way to Rock Hill, but when they didn't hear from her, they went searching. That's when they found her body. Her mother shared these pictures with us, and neighbors we spoke to called Thompson a bright light in the community.
For us, I know she was as good as she could be. Nice person, she just, she spoke, talked to you, anything, anything she could do for you, she'd do it. That's about all I can say. She was as good as she could be.
As of this morning, her killer is still out there. If you have any information, call the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. This morning, a local father is promising change after a 22-year-old Waxhaw College student was killed while visiting friends in Columbia. Logan Federico was shot and killed during a home break-in over the weekend. Police say she and her friends had returned from a night out when that suspect broke into the home and shot Logan with the gun he'd just stolen from another house. WCNC Charlotte spoke to Logan's father, who tells us he wants to make sure this doesn't happen to another family.
I'm officially the father of a murdered child. I'm going to figure out how to make kids safer at colleges and campuses and frat houses and stuff.
30-year-old Alexander Dickey now faces several charges, including murder and burglary. He remains behind bars this morning with no bond.
Union County teachers could soon see a pay raise. We looked over the Board of Education's approved budget recommendation, which includes a $2,000 annual supplement increase for educators. Well, that recommendation will now go to the Union County Board of Commissioners, and if it's approved, it could raise the district's teacher pay ranking to nearly the top 10 in the region. Now, last night's meeting also featured some public comments about the district's stance on immigration. Take a listen.
The threat of Union County families being separated by ICE is a legitimate concern. Just because a Union County school hasn't directly been affected by ICE yet does not mean the communities our UCPS students live in are not affected. The students of Monroe High School asked for two simple things. One, a statement stating UCPS schools are a safe zone from ICE and immigration. Two, equal treatment and opportunity and funding for all UCPS students.
Well, the budget recommendation also includes plans to add nurses in every school and cuts to intern positions to reduce costs.
7:46 now. Reaction pouring in this morning after North Carolina House lawmakers approved a bill that would ban DEI practices in state and local government. Now the North Carolina chapter of the NAACP is asking folks to speak up to state leaders and condemn the bill. WCNC Charlotte's Siobhan Riley shows us why some are calling this bill a bad move, but why proponents say it's a needed measure.
NAACP President Deborah Maxwell says the passing of House Bill 171 is disappointing and dangerous and could even lead to the organization taking legal action. But proponents say it ensures fairness.
My message to Senate, especially I live in the district of Senator Michael Lee, do not pass this.
In a stern message to state senators last week, North Carolina NAACP President Deborah Maxwell condemned House Bill 171, calling it an attack on equity and justice.
This is not counter. You are using politics over people. The people of North Carolina do not need this bill, but the politicians in Raleigh who want it are not doing a service to the people of this state.
The proposed measure that passed in the House last week bans promoting, supporting, funding, or maintaining workplace DEI programs, policies, or initiatives.
We need to send a more positive message.
Maxwell says it sends a message that fairness and inclusion are less important than political agendas.
We are going backwards, and it is discouraging. It may discourage industry from wanting to come here if they're of that mindset. Remember what happened to Target, and it is still going on.
Columbus County Representative Brendan Jones, who introduced the bill backed mostly by Republicans, released this statement. It reads, House Bill 171 is a step towards true fairness in North Carolina. It ensures that individuals are judged by their merit, not by the traits they cannot control. I am proud to be a part of a bill that provides true inclusion to everyone in the state.
I implore them to call their senator, email their senator in the next few days and let them know that you do not want this.
We will wait and see what happens next when the bill heads to Senate. If passed, state employees risk losing their jobs if they choose not to follow the law. Back to you.
Well, happening now, thousands of volunteers here in Charlotte are working to give children across our area a better night's sleep.
They are building hundreds of beds by hand inside the Charlotte Convention Center. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris joins us live in Uptown with a look at this massive effort. And Miles, so many kids will benefit from having a new bed.
You're absolutely right there, Lisa and Kaylin. Good morning. Yeah, we are inside the Charlotte Convention Center where not just hundreds, actually thousands of beds are being made for kids in need. And to talk to me about more about the efforts that are being made inside there, I got Chad Sanders with us with Lowe's. Chad, good morning. And also, talk to me a little bit about what Lowe's is doing here this morning.
So Lowe's has rallied together with Sleep in Heavenly Peace to build 5,000 beds for kids in need, right? So Sleep in Heavenly Peace is an organization that we partnered with for many years now, and it's all about coming together. And with 7 million kids in the U.S. that are sleeping on a hard surface at night, Lowe's said, hey, we got to be involved in this. So we rolled up our sleeves. It's a part of our DNA to help out and really do something. So today we're making a difference.
Let's go ahead and walk through how this is working here, though, too, because we got a lot of wood, we've got a lot of tools. You guys have got a lot of volunteers as well. So how does this project and process really work for you guys in the morning?
So what we've set this up is a 24-hour bed build. So we've had over 5,500 volunteers that have been here since noon yesterday, and we'll finish up at noon today. And we are going through from raw lumber all the way through finished beds. All of these beds are being palletized and they're being shipped out, and then all of our chapters will deliver those locally to the kids in need.
You've done this for a couple of times as well with Lowe's, doing similar projects like this as well. Talk to me about the impact that you have seen firsthand as well with these beds.
Oh, I tell you, I've been with Lowe's for just shy of 30 years, and it's always been part of, again, our DNA to get out there and be part of the community. And when there's a problem, we jump right in. So whether we're in a store area where we find a need, we need mulch in a certain area, or we just need to focus on something like skilled trades, our Lowe's Foundation works super hard to come out and really rally everyone together to make a difference.
And I think what's so cool about it, though, too, I mean, I've seen some of the volunteers that are getting ready to start that 8 a.m. shift right now. I mean, I've seen people of all ages. I've even seen some kids come out here and try to put their working hands in part of this process as well. What does it say about Charlotte, man?
Oh, I tell you, it's just about the community rallying together to make a difference. This is Lowe's saying, hey, let's build this platform to go make a difference, but it's all of these volunteers. I mean, we have UNC Charlotte fraternities that are involved with this today. We have vendors from all over the world. I have a gentleman that flew all the way in from Malaysia to be part of this build.
Wow. I mean, this is literally making an impact in so many different ways, though, as well. Literally getting goosebumps. Now, let's say that there's anybody else that wants to volunteer for projects like this or similar. Where can they go?
Yeah, for Sleep in Heavenly Peace, we can go to shpbeds.org, type in where you're located at, and it'll tell you all of the needs and how to get involved. And then on Lowe's.com, you can always go to the community page and learn about all the things that we're doing.
Wow, I mean, it's a lot of work that's being done. I mean, I keep looking at how many volunteers are coming out here, so much work. And can we actually take a look, Mason, as we make a move over here? You can see one of the finished beds right now. That's like a twin double-sized bed there. That's kind of what the finished product will look like, correct?
Exactly. So we see them as bunk beds, but it can be single or two depending on what's needed. And that's what we're building out today. It'll look just like that. So when we deliver them, it's the bed, it's the mattress, it's the sheets, it's the pillow. Think about when are you the safest? Whenever you pull those blankets up at night. Like these kids that have never had that, once we deliver those beds, they will, right? They're going to feel safe when they go to sleep tonight.
That's an awesome thing and an awesome project to see firsthand as well. Chad, thank you so much for your time, man. We'll see more of this as that second string of volunteers are making their way out here. But for now, reporting live inside the Uptown Charlotte Convention Center, guys. I'm Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte. What an awesome, awesome project that's being done here, Lisa and Kaylin.
Well, Miles, before you go, I'm wondering, is it too late for folks to get out and volunteer? A lot of folks will hear this and want to come out and make a difference.
At least for this project, I would say that they have their list of volunteers. And again, you can head over to our website. You can head over to the website that Chad had mentioned as well, as far as getting more information on their future projects. But I mean, they are getting ready to have over 1,000 more volunteers getting set to build more of those beds today.
Great to see so many volunteers helping out for those kids in need of beds. All right, Miles Harris, thanks so much for that. Chris?
All right, thanks a lot. As I mentioned, this is my type A rain forecast because you have everything categorized in the scattered, isolated, and likely. I just want to organize everything for Mother's Day, you know? And a big shout out to all the mothers in our lives. And we are looking at a better chance and a better forecast of trying to dry things out. But I want to get to all the rain forecasts that we have going into the weekend. So there's a lot of pulses of rain. Now, number one, I want to start with tomorrow. Today, I think if you see any rain, it's a sprinkle. Not much happening, maybe a light rain shower down in South Carolina. But there's a chance for some large hail and some gusty winds. By tomorrow, tornadoes at this point, not likely. So here's the case and scenario. Down towards the south, you see a little bit of light rain. I think that really struggles to hit the ground. That's why I'm calling for some sprinkles on an overcast to mostly cloudy day. By tomorrow morning, I think things change on us. We see showers and storms scattered across the area, starting in the early to mid-morning up in the mountains, but it's really anywhere between about 7 and 10 that I think it's the best impact across the Charlotte area. We'll open the skies for a little bit of sunshine before we see more showers and storms form right here around Morganton to Taylorsville, over to Statesville, and then this expands. If this forms a line like this, we're looking at a chance for some gusty, damaging winds leading up to midnight. So right now, my main window of opportunity for the worst of the storms is really anywhere between about 6 and midnight, but it could last a little bit longer after midnight. So there's still really an uncertainty of what's happening here. We'll continue to keep you updated here on WCNC Plus as more rain starts to roll in. Also your updated Mother's Day forecast coming up as well.
All right, Chris, thanks. We're going to take a quick break here, but keep it here on WCNC Plus. Coming up, we're going to have another update on weather and traffic and have the breaking news and headlines back at 8. Stay with us.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful start to the day. We're already seeing these clouds starting to take over for the afternoon. Now, so far this morning, we've had a mix of clouds and sunshine. At one point, I think we were talking about an overcast sky. There's still going to be some bright spots, so it's not completely a gloomy forecast, but at times it will look like it's going to rain. Most likely just a sprinkle, though. Right around 60 degrees is our current starting point here at Charlotte, 60 in Monroe, 53 for you in Lincolnton. High temperatures leveling out in the lower to the mid-70s through the afternoon with a few bright spots, as I mentioned. Tomorrow, we have a chance for rain in the morning, taking a break, and a chance for strong to severe storms even by the late evening heading into your Friday. And this activates an active pattern. More on that coming up on WCNC Plus. But first, we have to get to your morning commute with Majestic. Good morning.
All right, good morning. Hey, if you are getting ready to head out the door and if you travel southbound on I-77, you'll want to know we have a major backup that is ongoing currently. There's our live traffic map, so lots that is actually happening right now, but I wanted to show you a live look of what's actually going on. This is I-77 south of I-85. Notice the two right-hand lanes, they are blocked off. Emergency responders are on scene. You can see traffic is still able to move, but it is moving very slowly, and it's backed up all the way north to Sunset Road. We'll have another update with this accident coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, thank you for joining us back here live at 8 on WCNC Plus. I'm Caitlin Hagwood in for Ben.
And I'm Lisa Washington. The Real ID deadline has finally arrived. Starting today, you will need that new ID to fly domestically or enter federal buildings. But there is some good news this morning if you don't have one just yet.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane live for us this morning. And Richard, we're learning folks will still be able to fly, but it may take a little longer to get through security.
Yeah, a couple extra steps, Kaylin. That's absolutely correct. When you come out to a place like Charlotte Douglas, where they do about 600, TSA takes about 600 passengers per hour through their security system, 35,000 a day. They say that it could take you some extra steps if you don't have that real ID that you'll have to go through. So they're getting people through, but it could take you a little bit longer if you don't have that real ID. Now, as we look at video, it's very important for you to have that real ID because, as we said, it's going to bog you down if you don't have it and you're trying to come to airports, because TSA says that's an important document that you're going to need. That's that little driver's license, and it's got your ID, that little star in the upper right hand corner. In California, it's got that little bear sign, and that's what you're going to need to get through. But if you don't have it, you don't have it today. If you have your passport, you're still able to come through the airport. You can show that instead of your driver's license with a real ID. And if you have like a military issued ID card, that will get you through today as well. Now, if you're stuck in lines here at the airport, TSA, they'll just ask you some questions, qualifying questions, to make sure that you are who you say you are, and that should also get you through. Just be more headaches. You don't want to go through those headaches. That's why it's important to have that real ID. But we've had problems getting those real ID because a lot of folks were rushing to get them, and those lines are long at DMV offices all around our area. You saw some lines there. Kaylin, you did a story on it just a short while ago. We actually spoke to some folks, or I say you spoke to some folks, one person who was in line, and then we spoke to DMV with how they think they can try to solve the problem of those long lines. Take a listen, folks.
This is the fourth attempt. And this is the first time that I've actually able to see somebody in all this waiting just for them to tell me that I didn't have a document that was needed. They need to have a better process in doing this.
We have a couple of requests before the legislature to add new employees to those ranks, and we're hopeful that they'll fund those requests for additional employees this year.
And that is the hope. More employees equal more help for folks who are trying to get their real IDs and make those lines shorter in doing so. Of course, we've got all this information on our website and tricks on how you can get your real ID and smooth those lines, make the waiting a little bit smoother for everybody. We're right here at Charlotte Douglas. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you guys.
Yeah, Richard, I was out at the DMV speaking with Elena, who we just heard from yesterday, and she had a challenging day, but we know this is not something uncommon for folks who are visiting the DMV, whether it's real ID related or not. We heard a little bit from the DMV folks there, but can you talk about what they've been doing to try to help ease this for folks and make it a little bit more seamless?
Well, most important thing is we've got the list of the documents that you need, so we need to tell folks what they need. Go to their, which links over to their website, so you can go to their DMV website, North Carolina DMV website as well. Know the documents that you need, pretty much what you had when you had your driver's license, and then some additional documentation you might need in order to get your real ID. If you have your documentation with you when you go, you're then able to get your real ID a lot quicker. And in Elena's case, and I've told other folks there, if you have the ability to travel, this is a little trick we're going to tell you. North Carolina allows you to get your driver's license, real ID, and even do your tags and stuff like that in any county. So let's say you have the ability to travel outside of Mecklenburg County, to Union County, to a smaller county. You can then go to that county and take care of your business there. So if there's a county that isn't as large and you call their DMV and they're not as busy, you can go there. Now, of course, a lot of them are getting busy now because of the surge for real ID, but you can go to one of those smaller counties and take care of your business there. I personally have done my license in other counties, and I've done my tax in other counties. So it works, and it's a great tip. But go to our website, look at the documents you need so you have them, and you'll have them and be prepared when you get to those lines.
All right, Richard, thanks so much. Another tip, if you're scheduling an appointment online, log on very early and you might be able to find an appointment there. All right, thanks so much, Richard. As the new Real ID rules roll into effect, we're verifying questions about those changes this morning.
Our Verify team has been getting a lot of questions from some of you folks at home, including what if you don't have one on time, or is there some kind of a grace period? Our Megan Bragg verifying this morning.
What buildings can you enter? Is there a grace period? And can I still get a Real ID after May 7th? These are just some of the questions we've gotten into our Verify email. Today, we're verifying some of the most common questions you have surrounding Real IDs.
Our sources, U.S. Homeland Security, TSA, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and the Department of Motor Vehicles. We got this first question from WCNC Charlotte viewer Will R., asking, if I don't have a Real ID, how can I get into social service buildings or apply for food stamps? According to NCDHHS, to apply for food stamps, you can use a birth certificate or other government-issued ID. So there are other options to get food stamps. The NCDMV states that a Real ID is not required for applying or receiving federal benefits. You do need a Real ID to enter military bases, federal courthouses, federal prisons, and other federal facilities. We have a full list on our WCNC app of federal buildings where Real ID is needed. The next question, will airports give a grace period if you don't have a Real ID on May 7th? If you don't have a Real ID, other forms of ID are accepted, like a passport. However, according to the head of Homeland Security, travelers who don't have a Real ID or passport will still be able to fly. However, they may be directed to a separate area and may receive additional screening. And finally, is the deadline to get a Real ID by May 7th? This is false. According to Homeland Security, you can get your Real ID at the DMV anytime. There is no date that they will stop handing out Real IDs. For more information on what you need a Real ID for, we have all of that on our mobile app. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something that you would like verified, email us, verify@wcnc.com. And coming up in our next half hour, we're going to be talking live with a TSA spokesperson about how this could impact your trip.
All right, well, if you are getting ready to head out the door, we've been keeping a very close eye on those area roadways for you. Recently, we had those southbound lanes on I-77 that were closed, but since then, they have been reopened. You can see the accident is now off to the shoulder. This is I-77 south of I-85, but traffic is still definitely moving very slowly. So there's the accident, but notice all of that red that's backing up all the way over towards Sunset Road. So multiple miles at that. And then just off to the west of us, we're looking at Highway 16 there, where we have another accident, a crash on Halsley Street at Rossell's Ferry Road. So that is going to make for a slower morning commute as you're heading up towards Uptown. And then over towards Independence Boulevard, we have an additional crash. This is at exit 244 Television Place. Multiple minutes of a slowdown here, lots of red there, and then just off to the east of that, another crash. This is on WT Harris Boulevard at Snow Lane. We'll have another update on your traffic in those roads coming up in just a few minutes. But Chris, what's going on? How's the weather this morning?
Thanks a lot, Majestic. You're doing a fantastic job. Looks like our prayers to the traffic gods to not work for the 7 to 8 o'clock hour. Lylesville, right now, we're seeing a lot of sunshine, upper level clouds. Woo! Would you check this out? It's a gorgeous start to the day. However, it's about to get a lot cloudier, so I'm just really celebrating what we have for the time being. Boone, King Street, we have a frozen camera. It's not moving. There was some movement going on, but hey, it's actually not too bad up here. We are seeing a nice mix of cloud and sunshine, but I want to show you what's coming. We do have a little bit of rain. A lot of this isn't hitting the surface as of just yet. We don't really have a saturated environment. It's been super dry recently. We're going to overcome that over the next day or so, but there is a slight chance for rain from Charlotte down towards the south today. I'm really calling it a sprinkle to barely a light rain shower. Not really in effect. You know that time where it's just barely a mist setting? I think that's going to be the case in scenario. I'm actually going to show you two futurecasts. I don't always do this. I usually decide on one, but check it out. We're seeing a lot of green here on the map. This one's always a little bit overly aggressive, so will be a chance really south of I-85 for an on and off sprinkle throughout the day, because I think it's struggling to get through that drier air. But this futurecast, everything really agrees with me, and what my thinking is that there's only a chance for for a very spotty light rain shower because most of that activity winds down as it gets a little bit closer to us, but that changes. Boy, does that change. Our hourly forecast, I think the best chance for rain today, if Charlotte does see a shower, is by the late day. And all in all, today is going to be a mostly cloudy one to an overcast. So I think it's an overcast day, so majority cloud cover, but at times you will see some brighter spots, or physically you can see where the sun is through some of those alto stratus clouds. As we work our way through the next couple of days, Thursday and Friday, it will feel a lot stickier, and that's going to be some storm fuel. So we have that sticky environment for your Thursday heading into Friday. So you're feeling it, my friends, before it feels a little bit better heading in the weekend. And since we're introducing some storm fuel, we also have a front. Couple that with some warmer temperatures, mix that together, we have the right recipe for a severe storm. Now, you notice that it's mainly off towards the west. And as we move into Friday, this severe potential slides down towards the south. Let me explain. So check this out. This is tomorrow. Tomorrow has round one that arrives in the morning. Chance for showers, storms, heavier rain that could impact the back end of our morning commute, and then an isolated hit or miss shower. Once you get to the middle of the afternoon, I think we're clearing out. We're good. Then we direct our attention right around the foothills up into the mountains. This is 4 o'clock. This is 4 to 5 to 6 o'clock. At this point, individual cells could potentially be some hail makers, especially the higher you go up in elevation. That's a little bit closer to the freeze level. Better chance for some hail makers. This line takes its sweet time to get to the Charlotte area. So Charlotte, I think the earliest that you're seeing rain is 6. The latest you could see rain is as much as midnight. But you see a line of showers and storms start to form. This is really reminiscent of what we saw on Saturday night. Brad even had a stray tornado warning that did confirm an EF0 tornado. We are seeing some little notches here. So even though there's a near zero chance for tornadoes along this line, it's mainly some damaging winds. Sometimes you don't need a lot of wind shear to have a little twist up right around here. So we just want to stay weather aware, weather alert for your Thursday evening heading into early Friday morning. But then notice once it gets in that blue range, everything dies out because it's the right time of day. So our rainfall chances, I just showed you through Thursday. I'm going to break it up into 2 parts here on WCNC Plus. There's so much to talk about. We got through Thursday into Friday. Coming up, I'm going to show you Friday's rain potential and your holiday weekend. I'm calling a holiday weekend because, of course, we've got to celebrate Mom, right? We're talking about Mother's Day forecast and also the big story, the best chances for rain, where we even have a potential washout status to begin next week. More on that coming up.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Let's take a live look now over Vatican City this morning, where in just a few hours, cardinals are going to gather in the Sistine Chapel to begin choosing the next pope. Later today, more than 130 cardinals are going to gather behind closed doors for that highly secretive conclave.
The process could take days, weeks, or even months. NBC's Jay Gray is at the Vatican this morning with a closer look at what comes next.
As the conclave begins, there's a sense this could mark an historic turning point for the Catholic faith.
Pope Francis really set Catholicism on a new course. Are we going to maintain that course, or are we going to retrench somehow?
If there is any division behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel, it will likely center on whether the Church continues and even expands progressive reforms initiated by Francis, or, as some conservative cardinals have suggested, returns to the more rigid roles, traditions, and doctrines that defined Catholicism for centuries.
Are we going to have a pope who gets up and says, Francis was a disaster, we need to go back to the old church? I don't think that's going to happen.
Vatican watchers say the new pope must be someone who, like Francis, can bridge the gap between factions within the church.
What Pope Francis did in emphasizing mercy, in terms of emphasizing meeting people where they are, listening to what is needed among the people of God, that defies labels of traditional versus progressive.
Those who will vote say any labels or leanings will not play a role in their decision.
We support whoever is the best person. We don't know. So, but we don't choose a pope based on continent, based on race, based on language. We choose a pope that is truly can be the successor of St. Peter. Yeah, the one who can look after the whole world.
As the whole world now waits to see who they choose. Jay Gray, NBC News, the Vatican.
And we spoke with Jay Gray live during our 7 a.m. hour as our coverage continues in Vatican City.
We asked about one important factor in this conclave. Here's what he had to say.
And what also makes this interesting is that this is the largest group ever of cardinals, and most of them have never participated in this process before. So how could that influence the outcome?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And many of them don't know each other. They've had some time pre-conclave to kind of get to know each other. But a vast majority, 108 of these cardinals, have never been a part of the process. So they're kind of learning on the job, if you will. And they'll get a real taste of it this afternoon when they take their oath and then cast that first ballot.
Well, we're going to be following the conclave live right here on WCNC Plus. You can stay with us for the latest breaking coverage throughout the morning.
Closer to home, President Trump met with Canada's new prime minister at the White House. While pledging friendship, the leaders' first face-to-face meeting was also filled with mixed messages. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
As President Trump sat down with Canada's new prime minister, trade tensions with friends.
Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada.
And competitors is in the spotlight with word that American and Chinese officials will begin negotiations in Switzerland on Friday. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to lead the talks.
My sense is that this will be about de-escalation, not about the big trade deal. But we've got to de-escalate before we can move forward.
The 145% tariff on Chinese imports into the U.S. is already forcing some prices up for American consumers. And officials at the Port of Los Angeles warn shortages could be coming soon. Overnight, a Chinese official saying, quote, "If it's a fight, we will fight to the end. If it's a talk, the door is open." President Trump voicing frustration over frequent questions about when he'll sign promised trade deals with an array of foreign leaders.
We don't have to sign deals. They have to sign deals with us.
On Canada, the president asked if Prime Minister Mark Carney could persuade him to lift 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, including steel, aluminum, and cars.
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
The two leaders sparring over President Trump's calls to make Canada the 51st state.
I still believe that, but you know, takes two to tango, right? It would really be a wonderful marriage.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
Never say never. Never say never.
President Trump pushing boundaries in his quest to remake global trade. The trade war with China beginning to show real-world impacts as the executive director at the Port of Los Angeles says the number of cargo ships coming in from China is down more than a third, warning consumers could start seeing product shortages and higher prices in about 5 to 7 weeks as companies run through their stockpiles. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, switching gears here, we always like to make you a little smarter at home as we talk about our weather IQs. And today we're talking about clouds. It's something you see all the time, but did you know how many types there are?
Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy is breaking them all down in today's Weather IQ.
Clouds. Sometimes they're fun to look at, but they can also be great forecasting tools. Here are 10 basic types of clouds and what they mean. It's getting cloudy in this week's Weather IQ. Clouds are divided into 4 main designations: low level, mid-level, upper level, and clouds with vertical growth. Let's start on the top. Cirrus clouds are those wispy clouds you see on a relatively clear day. These are so high up in the atmosphere they're made up of ice crystals. Cirrostratus clouds make the sky look milky. You can see the sun through them, and sometimes they even form a halo. Cirrocumulus clouds live at the same height and can have these ripples and fish scale-like appearance. These in the tropics can sometimes mean a tropical storm or hurricane is coming. Here are the mid-level clouds. Altocumulus is similar to cirrocumulus, just lower in the atmosphere. Both clouds are referred to as a mackerel sky. Altostratus is responsible for overcast days since they usually cover the whole sky. Very little sun shines through these grayish clouds and can be a precursor to rain. Now to the low-level clouds. Stratus clouds come from the Latin prefix strata, which means layer. These layer clouds are low to the ground and don't let any sun through. If these clouds lower to the ground, then it's called fog. When stratus clouds start producing rain, they get a new name: nimbostratus. Nimbostratus produces light to moderate rain and is one of the 2 types of rain clouds. Stratocumulus is a common cloud that, as named, is a mix of cumulus and stratus clouds, most commonly seen ahead and behind fronts. The last group, clouds with vertical growth. Cumulus often look like little cotton balls in the lower atmosphere. These are fair weather cumulus, but once they start looking like this and stretch upwards, they can extend miles up, turning into a cumulonimbus cloud, or a thunderstorm. This is the second type of rain cloud, and the only one that produces extreme weather, such as flooding rains, lightning, hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes.
So those are the 10 types that we should know, but you're saying there are more than how many?
There's more than 100 different types. Like we had mentioned the ones before. You dropped one outside of Amatis. Tell me the other one that you dropped.
Lenticular.
Ooh, look at you.
This girl knows a thing or two, just saying.
So lenticular is one of my favorite clouds. It literally looks like a flying saucer, and it forms over mountains. It's so cool. You've probably seen them out west, right?
Yes, over Mount Rainier, over towards Seattle. You would just see it right on top of the mountain. It looks like a little UFO.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. Viewers are always like, what's going on? What is that? It's a certain type of cloud.
Cool. And Lisa knows all about it. So,
yeah, she does.
So technically, we've talked about 12. We'll get to the other 88 coming up over the next hour. Just joking. No. However, we actually can use this camera right here to go cloud spotting. Let's go check this out. So if you look really closely, you can see those little ripples. This isn't especially high up. So right there, you are actually looking at some altocumulus clouds and a mix of cirrocumulus clouds, which is what's called the mackerel sky. So we got fish scales up in the sky and flying saucers over in Washington. What are you more concerned about? We have a day that's going to turn overall cloudy. I moved our temperature actually down to 74. I had 75. I didn't feel comfortable with it. I thought it was going to be 73, 74, and I went with 75 anyways. I'm sorry. So I moved it down a degree, lower to the mid 70s throughout the day. But I actually want to go back to that camera that I was just looking at, not to explain any clouds to you, but do you see how cloudy it looks? This is, I think, going to be the brighter version of the sky. At times, these clouds can turn a little bit darker and there'll be less blue to go around, so just kind of keep that in mind. So that's kind of the base brighter model of the day. Overnight tonight, staying mostly cloudy. Temperatures dropping down into the upper 60s, back to 60 on Friday morning, and then in the mid 50s through the weekend. Our rainfall chances are very isolated this weekend, scattered the next few days. Today, we're overall dry. Yeah, we have a chance for a sprinkle, a barely light rain shower down in South Carolina, but I'm still just call it overall dry for Charlotte and areas north. But Monday and Tuesday is really my focal point for the widespread rain. We already went through these earlier on to start off the hour, but I want to explain a little bit more about this. I think you're going to see a round of rain tomorrow morning. We take a break. Between 6 and midnight is the best chance for showers and storms, even though I might push this and extend it a little bit past midnight. Still a little concerned about what these little kinks and notches could do along that line. There is a potential and outside chance for a spin-up tornado here, but honestly, I think this is overdoing it a little bit. If it looks like this, yes. But if we really bring down some of the amount of moisture that's going to be here, we're going to see how this develops. But for right now, I do want to say we're going weather alert for this coming evening, not for the day. It's just really a weather alert window from about 6 to just after midnight. Then it starts to fade out as it pushes away off towards the east. But here's the big wet weather maker. That could be some heavy rain up to an inch. Don't get me wrong. But it's this system that rolls in for your Mother's Day weekend. I think all in all, it's going to be a cloudy Saturday, a cloudy Sunday with a few breaks in the clouds, but the rain, I think, holds off. Through your Monday morning into the afternoon, rain takes over. Once it starts raining, it may not stop for several hours. This is the making of a washout, people. That's Monday night heading into Tuesday, so we could have 2 days of nothing but rain. So what am I telling you? This is the day to mow the lawn. I'm going to go home and do it real quick. And this is the day that you want to do stuff outside. You can do it on and off through the coming days because Monday and Tuesday are going to be real tough to do some of that stuff outside. As for this weekend, the only question mark that we really have is how much sunshine we see and if we do see any spotty rain showers, because sometimes you can have that damp, low level of moisture that can really create some on and off showers. So that's a development on the way. So all in all, really something for everyone across this Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Let's see how our morning commute is faring. It's been all over the place, up and down, just like the 7-day. Majestic, what's going on?
All right, well, we're definitely seeing those slowdowns now. This is I-77 out towards Carowinds. You can see traffic is moving slowly, but I think that's just what you anticipate this time of the day. We do have multiple accidents, though, at that I do want to let you know about. We're seeing multiple, whether you're in North or South Charlotte, but let's zoom it on in. I want to talk about this one here. Currently, this is our most active. There is a crash on Ballantine Commons Parkway between Camels Commons Way and McKee Road. We're seeing some big slowdowns out that direction. And then also another crash. This is out towards Independence Boulevard, westbound lane. So if you're heading towards the Charlotte metro area, this is going to take you a little longer to get there than usual. And just to the east, we're looking at this one here currently. We've been tracking this one for a while now. So coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to be detailing out a few more of those crashes that may be impacting your morning commute. Plus, we're going to be talking about why there are so many school buses around the uptown area today.
Thanks, Majestic. We'll take a quick break right now, but make sure you stay with us here on WCNC Plus. We'll have another check on your weather and traffic coming up in about 2 minutes, and then we'll be back with the day's top story starting at 8:30.
Well, hello everyone. Clouds are actively increasing this morning, so it will be a cloudier afternoon. It's mostly cloudy to an overcast one. High temperature today, 74. We should be at 78, so it's a below normal day. And that cloud cover could bring a quick sprinkle here and there. Better chance for rain down to our southern counties in northern South Carolina. Guy Roofing 7-day forecast really has something for everyone. Looking at a chance for rain to start off your Thursday morning. We take a break. Widespread showers and storms during your Thursday evening. Thursday night, heading into Friday, we take a break. Pop-up shower. I think you get what's going on. However, we will have some cold air damping, locking a lot of moisture and cloud cover heading into your Saturday and Sunday. I think there's a slight chance that you see a little bit of sunshine for your Mother's Day. A lot of dry hours for you and Mom to enjoy yourself. Then heading into Monday and Tuesday, widespread rain, more wet hours than dry ones. We are looking at a busy commute. I know just a person to talk to. Majestic, how's it looking?
Boy, these roads are keeping me busy this morning. We have multiple accidents out there. You can see a very busy live traffic map. So as we bring it on home, I want to show you a live look outside. This is I-77 at Carowinds. This is kind of a normal area where we do see those backups, but we do have a crash at Ballantine Commons Parkway between Campbell Commons Way and McKee Road. So some slowdowns out that direction. Otherwise, another one. This one will take you out towards Independence. Exit 244. You can see those backups. So if you are heading towards the Charlotte metro area, well, allow for a few extra minutes to get to where you need to be. And there are lots of school buses today around the Truist Field area because it is Education Day.
Thanks for joining us live here at 8:30 on WCNC Plus. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Kaylin Hagwood, in for Ben.
Some big decisions today could directly impact your child's classroom. CMS leaders making their case to county commissioners today, asking for millions to fund teacher pay, school safety, and academic support.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards live for us this morning. And Destiny, this is an important meeting for the district.
Yeah, the district says this is about requesting part of their budget from county leaders, operational funds from the county, and all of this is going to be lining in step with a lot of their district goals. So protecting classrooms, prioritizing teacher pay, that's a big one, supporting students, and also staying up to date with the latest technology. Now, out of their entire $1.95 billion budget, CMS is asking county leaders to approve over $667 million in operating funds, a $28 million increase compared to last year. The budget includes a 3% raise for all employees, higher teacher supplements, and continued funding for professional development. $8.3 million would go toward fixing long-standing pay gaps for classified staff, and another $2 million would provide students with digital devices. District leaders call the budget strategic, saying lower impact programs have been cut to preserve what matters most, especially with federal COVID relief funding coming to an end. 2 weeks ago, during the school board's budget approval, some members said this request still doesn't go far enough on teacher pay, pointing to a need for stronger commitments from both the state and the county.
The teachers that are in those classrooms are shaping our next generation. And most of them can't afford to live in this county, or they have a second job or something else. So I'm disappointed because I think we should ask for more.
The Mecklenburg County Board of Commissioners will be considering this budget request. They'll be reviewing it at 2:30 p.m. today. But even after that, there's still a lot of steps going forward before CMS's budget is final. They have to wait for the county and the state to approve their own respective budgets. And then the district will come forward with a new amended budget presentation. There will be a public hearing on that, and then the school board will vote on the budget for the next school year. Live this morning at CMS headquarters, I'm Destiny Richards, WCNC Charlotte.
And Destiny, what would the $28 million from the county be for?
Yeah, so a lot of it is split up into two sections. So a lot of it is about increasing or investing in employees and then maintaining critical services. So there's $8 million that's going towards increasing teacher supplements by an average of 5%. There's $9.9 million that's covering state-driven salary and benefit adjustments. Again, the $8.3 million that's going towards a classified compensation study, again, filling those gaps that have existed for decades for classified staff, and then $2 million for digital devices in the classroom. So again, federal COVID funds are not going to be a part of the budget this time around. So they had to make some adjustments here and there and do the best they could to really prioritize things that are going to be a part of their district goals that increase student outcomes. And big parts of that were maintaining key resources. A big part of that is student materials, and then also investing in teacher pay so they can keep those educators in the classroom. But of course, there could be a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments depending on what the county allocates for the district, as well as if there are any changes to salaries and benefits at the state level as well that will affect North Carolina teachers across the board.
And we know addressing the teacher shortages and teacher pay also big topics of discussion. All right, Destiny, thanks so much for that report. Let's check back in with Chris now to get another update on our forecast for this Wednesday.
Thanks a lot, Lisa. I appreciate it. So here's what's going on. Our futurecast is giving away that maybe there's a little bit of a light rain shower just south of I-85. And the main reason why is because you can see that rain further off towards the west. It's holding together, but it's also going to make things a little bit darker, too, coming up. So we are turning overcast heading into the afternoon. You even can see an overcast sky here really in the next few hours. But at times it will be a brighter overcast compared to more of a gloomy overcast. Further south you go, it looks a little bit more gloomy because there's more moisture here, but a lot of this is going to struggle through some drier air, so most of us will just see sprinkles. I think it's really our South Carolina counties that have a better chance for a brief rain shower. Even if you see it, doesn't really affect too much. See that green? Look at how fast it was. It cruised through. Our hourly forecast for today, high temperatures reaching the lower 70s, and I have a high about 74 under a mostly cloudy to an overcast day. Slightest chance for that brief shower, but most of us staying dry. And then how you feel over the next couple of days is going to change. Today still is that, oh, that's nice. And then once you get to Thursday and Friday, feels a little sticky, uncomfortable. That humid air is back, and then no problem again by the weekend. But we have a lot of changes coming, especially by tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 2 rounds of rain. Now it's the one later in the day that does have a low level risk of severe weather. We were talking about that yesterday here on WCNC Plus, that was going to be a potential, and it looks like it's really evolving. So let me show you this. There's still a little bit of that lower confidence, but I am going to say that we have a weather alert window for your Thursday evening to around midnight. We did have a tornado warning after midnight last Saturday. There's an outside chance that we could do that again. So let me get to that. We have some rain that's arriving right around the middle of the morning. And then as we continue into the afternoon, I think we're going to have a break in the action. But then things start to pop back up again by the late afternoon from Morganton over to Taylorsville. This line eventually starts getting going. So there's a slight chance for a scattered shower around Charlotte to start off the evening. But I think most of this activity arrives really anywhere between about 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. Now, the good news is things become a little bit more stable like that. But if this comes to fruition, this pure example, and I have to admit, the models have not been great this season, and sometimes they overdo it, but just say this is the case scenario and the radar looks like this, there will be some notches. You will have a chance for a spin up or at least some gusty winds along the line. Now, the one thing that's working against us is how unstable the atmosphere is. Yes, it's a little bit on the humid side, but watch as it works its way into the blue where we have a general chance for thunderstorms. It fades out because this is our storm fuel. Storm fuel is highest in the afternoon. If that line arrived at 6 p.m., you would have a surefire chance of a really strong thunderstorm. And that's why I'm not discounting what we're going to see around the I-40 corridor right in here to end your Thursday. That, I think, is the sweet spot for some stronger storms, but I'm still going to keep us all under that weather alert window for the entirety of the evening, because watch the storm fuel. It really just disappears as that line starts to roll in, so just kind of keep that in mind. Our day and nighttime rain chances. There's not just a daytime rain chance, it's the night one as well. Thursday night, that's including the evening, that's one of the highest that we have. Now, of course, the confidence level is coming up on these Monday through Tuesday time frames and a little bit lower for this coming weekend, so that's good news for Mom. But over the next 7 days, we are trending up to 3 inches of rain possible. I think up to an inch is easily going to be dumped for some of us, even an inch more, depending where you are on Thursday evening. And then we have a widespread soaking rain going forward. Friday's rain chances, spotty showers, and even a line of thunderstorms possible in the afternoon. I'm not worried about any severe risk here. It will be on the humid side, but this is really what we're looking at going forward. We have this low pressure system and this front that locks itself down towards the south. On your Sunday, I think clouds start to creep in. This is the best chance that we have for rain and the earliest I'm seeing it, but by the end of your Mother's Day, the worst case scenario, you could have some rain moving in. So I'm just telling people, just do things earlier in the day just in case we do have some rain. Saturday right now overall looking to be dry, but it does look like we could have widespread rain arrive by your Monday as this front bends and twists, especially when this low pressure system works its way in. Now, the thing with the long range data, it looks really chunky, like pretty much a kid drew on this map. It's like JT, my 3-year-old, drew this. So you don't see a lot of detail, but oftentimes a low pressure system can also inject some dry air. So it's not just build an arc type weather, but you are going to see, I think, more wet hours than dry ones from time to time across the 2 days. This could also continue into your Tuesday night, but there's still a lot of uncertainty about what this low is going to do, what its general steering pattern is, because it has its mind of its own. When we have the jet stream, when we know what's guiding it, it's much easier, but at this point, that thing's down there and it's going to do what it wants, and it is stubborn. So heading into the weekend, you could still see some changes. Mostly it's on the cloudier side of things with that slight chance for rain here and there, with the developing increasing rain chance overnight Sunday heading into Monday. Monday night, Tuesday, widespread rain. That looks to be the wettest period and the stormiest period. Thursday night. This is also going to be our warmest with high temperatures into the lower 80s. So I'm all over the place, right? Temperature-wise, storm chances, cloud cover. You pretty much have everything going on in this Sky Roofing 7-day forecast. Hopefully you don't have everything going on our traffic report. Let's see. Majestic, how's it looking?
Oh, it is a busy start to our Wednesday morning. Traffic is still bringing some hiccups if you're heading out the door. This is a live look outside. I-77 really backed up there, especially if you're coming from York County up towards the uptown area. That's where we do have a lot of congestion. Let's break down a few of our accidents. We have multiple, but I want to get to this one. This is I-77 southbound lane still being impacted. A crash before exit 12, which is Atondo Ave. Look at how slow those cars are going, about 14 miles an hour, but lots of red. You can see it there. I-77, I-85, pretty typical for this time of the day, but still some slow and go conditions, even a little closer towards uptown. This is an incident on Brooklyn Village Ave in Cherry. We've been watching that one for over an hour now. And then if you typically take Independence, you're going to want to know that westbound lanes after exit 244 is really slow going, not even going 10 miles an hour. So inbound lanes definitely backed up for several miles at this point. And then an additional crash, Driftwood Drive, a crash at Campbell. That's going 19 miles an hour. So lots of things really keeping us busy this morning. You can see more of our live traffic cameras. One place you don't want to be is right here. This is I-77. You can see mile marker 88 there. Inbound lanes, again, going to be the biggest concern. One thing you also notice if you spend some time in uptown today is that there are a lot of school buses, and it's because it's Education Day. So it's a lot of fun for the kids to head out to the ballpark. The game starts just after 11 o'clock this morning, but it is making for a lot of congestion. So keep a mindful eye out for those school buses and especially those students. Game starts just after 11. We're seeing that congestion now, but it's also going to bring some issues after the game is over. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll be right back here with more details on your traffic report and what you can expect for your weather forecast as well.
Thanks, Majestic. 8:41 now, and to the continuing nightmare at Newark's Liberty Airport. Delays and cancellations are already piling up this morning after the airport reported more than 200 yesterday. This comes as we learn more about what led to those issues. Here's NBC's senior correspondent, Tom Costello.
A current veteran Newark controller tells NBC News last Monday was not the first time they went dark, saying it's probably the third time since last August that we lost both radar and radios at once. But we've lost radios about 8 to 9 times. Last Monday, other facilities warned pilots.
3 of the 4 radar screens went black, and they have no frequencies.
The Newark airspace controller talking to NBC News says it lasted for 45 seconds, telling us we went to backup radios. That didn't work. Nothing worked. It was a scary moment. These planes with people with lives in them are flying, and no one is talking to them. They were flying in the dark. It was like a cone of silence. While the Newark Tower controls the runways, the airspace above the tower, up to 10,000 feet, is controlled by the Newark TRACON. To address controller shortages, last year the FAA moved those TRACON controllers to a consolidated facility in Philadelphia, but the data feeds have proven unreliable.
And they want you to be advised that they may not be able to radar contact you because of the radar issues.
Citing intense stress from the loss of comms, 5 Newark controllers reportedly left seeking short-term disability.
The controllers said they're traumatized and they're not on duty right now. I want to make sure that my controllers are of good mind and good spirit when they come in. It's an intense job.
Flights leaving for Newark were delayed more than 4 hours. The airport and FAA blame equipment failures, runway construction, weather, and a shortage of controllers. But bringing in controllers from other facilities is not a fast option. Certified controllers would need additional training, sometimes at the academy, before taking over at Newark. The FAA says it takes up to 1.5 years to certify at an ATC facility. But for anyone traveling through Newark, frustration.
This is like 3 extra layers of stress.
The FAA warns it could last for months.
That was Tom Costello reporting. New details on a security scare at actress Jennifer Aniston's home. Authorities arrested the man as troubling details emerged from what appeared to be the suspect's social media posts. Here's Liz Krutz.
Authorities announcing new details about the man they say rammed his car into the gate of Jennifer Aniston's Bel Air mansion. 48-year-old Jimmy Wayne Carwile of Mississippi arrested on suspicion of felony vandalism. According to LAPD, the frightening incident happened just after noon Monday while the Friends actress was inside her home.
Security has a suspect at gunpoint.
Aniston's private security jumped into action, detaining the man outside the property before LAPD officers arrived.
Is on the ground, out of the vehicle. The suspect that drove the vehicle through the front gate.
Carwell's motive not immediately clear. However, over the past year, he has made several posts on what appears to be his Facebook page referencing Aniston, including referring to her as his bride and writing that there is corruption going on to keep him from her.
Right in front of you, Jennifer.
This not the first time Aniston has dealt with a security scare. In 2005, while Aniston was out of town, a man took a taxi to her rented Malibu home, climbed over a fence, and broke into the property. He was then confronted by Aniston's employees. The actress also obtained a restraining order against a suspected stalker who in 2010 was prowling around areas in LA he thought she frequented while carrying a sharp object, duct tape, and love letters addressed to Aniston. The A-list star has reportedly lived in her $21 million mid-century modern mansion since 2012, telling Glamour magazine her home is her safe space. Now, as for this latest incident, according to authorities, Jennifer Aniston is okay, and neither she or representatives for her have commented. The suspect is being held without bail.
Well, switching gears here, after years of delays and extensions, the deadline has finally arrived. We're talking about those real IDs, and starting today, you will need that gold star on your license to fly domestically or enter a federal building unless you have an alternative form of identification like a passport. Now, the TSA also says people will still be able to fly, but it will take a little longer to get through security if you don't have that ID. And if you're not flying so soon or don't need to enter a federal building, then you've got some time before you upgrade.
We know that people still have a lot of questions surrounding this, what it means for your next trip. So joining us live now to talk more is TSA spokesperson Daniel Velez. Daniel, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So we are learning now that people can get through to TSA without having a real ID. What does that process look like?
Yeah, so it's going to vary from airport to airport, but what we're basically doing in most airports across the country is we have a transportation security officer ahead of the travel document checker, and that TSO is asking passengers if they're real ID compliant. If they are, they can go right on through, and if they're not, they're being directed into another lane, and they have to go through an additional screening process.
Do the people, when they come in, do they have to bring any special documents? Do they have some things in hand if they know I don't have that real ID quite yet?
No, once you inform the TSO that you do not have a real ID or a compliant identification, you're just going to be directed into another lane. It doesn't matter what other type of ID you have. If it's something that's not real ID compliant, you will have to go through additional security screening.
And Daniel, can you tell us how having a real ID actually helps the process for those going through the airport, going through those security lines? How does having this versus your regular driver's license help you guys?
Well, it makes sure that when people are coming through security that they are who they say they are. That's what this whole thing is about. The 2005 Real ID Act was to ensure that state-issued driver's licenses were a little bit more vetted. So these are vetted driver's licenses, and when you come through and you're presenting your real ID, we know exactly who you are. We know that you're the person who has that boarding pass, and we know who is actually going to be on the aircraft.
Now, about a month or so ago, you all held a press conference talking about a number of things, particularly spring travel, and real IDs came up as part of it. At that time, I don't think it was fully sort of etched out what it would look like whenever folks came through to if there would be a grace period, so to speak, like what we're discussing today. There was also talk about whether or not it would be overwhelming for TSA as those folks came through. Have you seen a lot of people coming through so far this morning that don't have the required documents, and how has your team sort of prepared itself, given perhaps a limited amount of time for the changes that you're now having to implement?
Actually, it's been the opposite. We have seen the majority of folks here at Boston Logan and airports across the country, airports in North Carolina. The majority of folks are either presenting a real ID or some form of an acceptable ID. We're having very few people being directed into additional screening. So that's the good news. All across the country, this has gone off very smoothly.
And I think it's worth reiterating. What about those who are traveling with children, those who may have their military ID? What does the process look like for them?
So if you have children, you don't have to worry about them as far as Real ID. Real ID is for adults 18 and older. If you're a military family, as long as you have your military ID and your dependent IDs for the rest of your family, you're good to go.
Excellent. Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Actually, I want to ask you one more question. What about those who have pre-check? Somebody may say, oh, well, I have pre-check or I have clear or global entry. How does this relate to them?
Yeah, so as far as those individuals, they will still have to present some form of Real ID. TSA pre-check customers will still enjoy not having to take off their belt, their jackets, and being in their own separate lane, but they're still going to have to show that travel document checker a Real ID. Same with Clear.
Excellent. All right, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
So we're going to be talking a lot about Real ID today, but good to know that there's that grace period for those who don't have it. You can still show up to the airport for your flight, but just give yourself some extra time to do so.
Well, switching gears now and turning to this, as thousands of volunteers in Charlotte are working to give children across our area a better night's sleep.
That's right. They are building hundreds, actually thousands of beds by hand inside the Charlotte Convention Center. Our Miles Harris joins us live. He is in Uptown with a look at this massive effort. I think there was another shift that started at 8 this morning. This is going to benefit a lot of kids.
A lot of kids, a lot of beds, a lot of work that is being done inside the Charlotte Convention Center, Lisa and Kaylin. But to talk to more about what this project and what the impact it's making here is joining me here. It is Jordan Allen here with Sleep in Heavenly Peace here. Jordan, first of all, good morning. But how amazing is it to see this amount of volunteers putting in this work?
It's incredible. I mean, you look at this sea of volunteers. These are volunteers either coming here with Lowe's, they're Lowe's employees, there's Lowe's vendor partners, or there are volunteers with Sleep in Heavenly Peace that are coming from all over the country to be here to help with this amazing event that Lowe's is sponsoring, a 24-hour bed build, 5,000 beds hopefully by noon today.
Talk to me about why this is such a big need for kids in our community and really around the country.
You know, it's an interesting need because of two things: how big of a need it is and how few people know about it. This is not a need that people are aware of. We call it a silent epidemic. We call it child bedlessness. Not a real word, but it is a real problem. But kids don't go to school and talk about not having a bed. They don't go hang out with their friends and say, by the way, I don't have a bed. So people just don't know that they don't have beds. But you look at the cost of a bed with our, prices of things right now. An average bed's going to be $600-700 fully furnished. That's a hard expense to take on as a family.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned this a couple of minutes ago about there's a lot of volunteers that have never done this before.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and walk through the process on what this looks like when we're making these beds this morning.
All right, so one of the things I want to point out first is this is the lumber that we get. Lowe's has provided this for us, and these are just regular lengths of wood that will eventually be turned into a bed once we get to the end of what we call a build train, a bed build train. We've marked these boards, and then they're going to come over here to be cut. None of these people have built beds before. None of them. This is the first time for almost everyone here. And 5 minutes after getting settled in, they're experts, which is fun to see. I'm going to bring you right over here. Once the board is cut, we're going to bring it over here to this jig. They're marking where these boards are then going to be drilled. It's a simple jig. Those are track spikes, and they mark those boards with the track spikes, and then we'll move down a little further.
I remember when we had talked about that part of it, I was like, I'd never even seen that process done before with these.
No, we kind of made it up. I'm going to show you. You see the marks right here? That's where they'll be drilling. And then if you look right over here, they're going to be pre-drilling. That allows it to be drilled easier without the board splitting. Then they get set up here. and we've pre-drilled all these boards. This is going to be part of one of our headboards.
So, and this is, again, as we move forward a little bit here, this is a big process piece by piece, and it's amazing to see how many volunteers have not really had their amount of time and done this before. This is amazing to see.
A lot of these volunteers have never even used a palm sander or a drill or a miter saw. All brand new, but now they're experts.
This is an amazing process, and looking forward to seeing this community impact that it's making. Jordan, thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you guys. And again, these beds are going out immediately, not just in the Charlotte community, but throughout, and we're looking forward to seeing the impact that it's making here. Lisa and Kaylin.
Certainly a tremendous impact. All right, Miles, thanks so much for that. Great to see there just how many volunteers they come in with no experience having done this. And then, as you said, a little bit of training and then they're ready to go. All right, well, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to have another update on weather and traffic. And then starting at 9 o'clock, our own Jane Monreal takes over our coverage on WCNC Plus. It continues from our live Impact News studios. Stay here with us only on WCNC Plus.
Morning, y'all. 65 degrees right now in Charlotte. Clouds trying to take over. We'll have some bright spots here and there, but all in all, there'll be mostly cloudy skies to an overcast day today. Temperatures getting into the lower to the mid 70s. I have a high right around 74 degrees for Charlotte with a few breaks in the clouds here and there. Just letting you know, we do have a weather impact and weather alert for tomorrow. That's from 6 p.m. until about midnight. Heavy rain, lightning, and also a chance for a strong thunderstorm. Some severe thunderstorm warnings could be popping up through this stretch. That'll continue into the early morning hours, so just be advised. Guy Roofing 7-day forecast showing the 80s to a cooler weekend. Majestic?
All right, area roadway is still a little tricky for some of us if you're getting ready to head out the door on this Wednesday morning. As you can see, the traffic is definitely slowed down. This is I-77 near Brookshire Boulevard. So if you're heading that way, you know how it goes. Allow for a few extra minutes to get to where you need to be on time. One of the accidents that we're still watching very carefully is this one right here, Independence westbound, just after exit 244. Traffic is crawling not even 10 miles an hour.